Okay, so I'm probably going to do just one side of this all the way down unless you ask for us to do like more of that type, just so we can get as many of the different style questions answered in our 30 minutes. So super simple, ideally. If you're looking at this, your center and your radius, remember, is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals radius squared. And I tried to remind everybody as many times as I made a video, radius squared. So this number is not the radius. It is the number squared. I did run into a couple people yesterday. Remember to get radius by itself. Like, so radius squared equals 49. Then you have to take the square root of both sides. So in this case, I have r squared equals 25. So that's not the radius. That's just the radius squared. So you're going to take the square root because that is the inverse of squaring something. So the radius is 5. Now, if you do remember back from depending a previous teacher and lots of other conversations, every time you square root something, there are two answers. But in this case, we're talking about the length of a radius. So it has to be the positive of those two. So our radius would be 5. Our center, for what value did I plug in the place of h here? Because hk is your center. Because that is still a minus, that means we put a positive 3 in there. So that's our h value. And that minus became a plus. So that means we put in a negative. Or if it's easier to just think about it, whatever it says, the opposite is your center. So in this case, it says plus 19, it's a negative 19. Because it says negative 2, it's going to be a positive 2. And again, the square root of 1 would be 1. So radius is 1. Write an equation of a circle with a center at 0, 0 and a radius of 4. We'll do both of these because they're fairly easy but very different. So with 0, 0, so x minus 0 is just going to give me x squared. Y minus 0 is going to give me y squared. And if our radius is equal to 4, we want radius squared. So we would square that 4, so it's going to be 16 as our output there. So over here, again, x plus 5, because it's the opposite, because that minus squared. Be careful not to forget your squared. Y minus 7 squared, because that's a positive 7, and it's y minus h, equals a radius of 10, so we're going to square that 10. Should be 100. Graph in the circle, again, you just need to know your center, or identifying the graph of the circle, and in this case, it's going to be a negative 2, positive 1. So we're going to go over 2, up 1. Our radius is 4, so we're going to take the square root of that 4, and that's going to be 2, 2, 2, 2, and then it should be just a circle. Then, of course, this one's 0, 0 for my center. 49, the square root of 49 is 7, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up 7. I said I was only going to do one of each, but I lied. Sorry. And 7, and I think I'm short on the side. 6, I am. 7. And then ideally it would be, not a square. Just don't make it not a square. Write the equation of the circle. So here we have negative 4, positive 4 as our center. And then if we count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, it's going to be x plus 4 squared, because that's the first one, that's a minus, and a minus minus makes a plus. Y minus 4, because that's a positive, and our equation is minus, equals our radius squared, and our radius was 5, so square it is going to be 25. So matching the graph to the equation. Is 2, 3 on the circle? That just means when I plug it in, so 2 minus 1 squared plus y is 3, so 3 plus 4 squared equals 9. When I solve this, is it going to actually equal 9? So 2 minus 1 is going to be 1, and 1 squared is 1. 3 plus 4 is 7, and 7 squared equals 9. Hopefully you already know 7 squared is 49 plus 1, so that's 50. Does not equal 9, so your answer would be no. This is where a lot of people, I think, get a little more wrapped up in. So write the equation of a circle with a center 0, 0 and a point 2, negative 4. So you need center and radius to write the equation. In this case, you're missing the radius. So center is hk, point is xy. So we're going to plug it in and solve for the radius. And then, of course, square it when we write our final equations. Make sure you pay attention to where h goes and where k goes, because it's subtraction. It does matter. So 2 minus 0 squared plus a negative 4 minus 0 squared. It doesn't matter as much in this one because they're zeros, but when you have numbers for your center, whether they be in front or behind, the minus symbol does change their power as far as their positive and negativity. So 2 minus 0 is going to be 2 squared plus negative 4 squared equals radius squared. Be very careful plugging that negative 4 squared in your calculator. If you don't use parentheses, it will not give you the right answer. 2 times 2 is going to be 4. 4 times 4 is 16, and negative times negative gives you a positive, equals radius squared. So it's going to be 20. So our center is 0, so it's going to be x squared plus y squared equals 20, because radius squared equals 20. And our radius is actually the square root of 20, and our center is 0, 0, given. Do we do one more of those? Or are we? Yeah. Okay. So again, and let's see, I can color code it. If this is H, this is K, this is X, and this is Y. So X goes first with H, then Y, and then K. Whoops, pumpkin. So HK is center. We're missing our radius. So negative 3 minus 1 is going to be a negative 4 again, squared. Negative 7 and negative 5 is going to give me a negative 12 squared equals radius squared. So negative 4 squared is going to be 16. Negative 12 squared is going to be 144. Negative times a negative gives us a positive. But again, if you don't type it in with parentheses in your calculator, it's going to tell you that it's a negative. So be very careful. And that should give us 160. So we take our center, x minus 1 because it's a positive, squared, y minus 5 because it's a positive, squared, equals our radius squared, which is going to be 160. But again, our radius at this point is actually equal to the square root of 160. And our center, as given in the beginning, is 1, 5. Hold on one second. The other two option or types of questions you're going to see is, there it is where you're putting it in standard form. And then also if you are, if you are given a diameter. Sorry, let me see if I thought I had it. There it is. So converting the forms. We'll do 2 of these because this is definitely an EOC question. So your first step is group your X's and your Y's. So I got my X's, then my Y's. I do the first step and some of the, to the way other people teach it, and the other steps all at one time. So I have a blank for when I complete that square, a blank when I complete this square. Move that positive 30 over. And then you have a blank, 2 blanks on this side with it as well, because you have to add to both sides. You can't just add to one side, just as algebraically, always, for math. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. So once you split everything up, you're then going to take your B value, divide it by 2, and then you're going to square it. So in this case, I'm going to add 36, and then I have to add 36 on this side. A lot of students try to skip the 2 blanks on the right-hand side because they don't think it's necessary. Trust me. As a human, if you don't put them, you're going to forget to add one of those numbers to both sides. You'll do it on this side and then forget to put it over here. Common mistake. All right, so 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then we're going to square that. So we're going to add 4. Add 4. Now we factor. So what multiplies to give me 36 but adds to give me 12, as I mentioned in some of the videos I made. This is your cheat. So x plus 6 squared. Because as that factored, that would be x plus 6 times x plus 6. And if you multiply that together, you would get x squared plus 12x plus 36. And then for our y values is over here, so it's plus y plus 2, because this is a positive 2, squared. Because 2 times 2 gives me 4, but 2 plus 2 also gives me that b value 4. And then at the end, we're just going to add those together. So negative 30 plus 36 plus 4, which is going to give me a positive 10, right? Yep, positive 10. From here, just as a review, center is going to be negative 6, negative 2, because it's the opposite of what's in there, because this formula is x minus h, y minus k. So I plugged in negatives to get those to become positives. And then our radius, in this case, is the square root of 10. So to do it again, first and foremost, group your x's and your y's with a blank. Y squared minus 18y with a blank. Move our constant over so it becomes negative, or the opposite of whatever it was. And then remember, you have a purple blank in this case and a black blank, so one of each, one for x, one for y. Take our b value, divide by 2, then square it. Just going to add 9, add 9. Take our b value again, divide by 2, square it, which is going to give me a negative 9 times negative 9 will give me a positive 81. Then we're going to factor this first x quadratic, or cheat, and see that negative 3. If you don't write this all the way out, you're going to be quick to put a negative 6 is what I've watched students do, because even some of the videos that other teachers, they don't write this part right here, the negative 3 squared. They just do the math and go straight to the answer. So just be careful. You have to write out everything to be able to find your cheat. But negative 3 times negative 3 gives me a 9, and negative 3 plus negative 3 gives me that negative 6. And then x minus 9, because negative 9 times negative 9 gives me a positive 81. And negative 9 plus a negative 9 gives me a negative 18. Add all these together, so this sum of all three of these terms is going to be 9. And that is your radius squared. So our center is positive 3, positive 9. And our radius is actually 3, which is the square root of 9. Now, because that's a nice, neat number, diameter is 2 times the radius, so that's going to be 6. Or if they give you the diameter, then half it to get your radius, because you do need radius to write the equation, because that number squared is what goes on the end. And last but not least, if I give you two coordinates as a diameter, let's pick 2. Let's do 2, 4, and negative 3, 5. That's going to be ugly, actually. Let's do negative 4, and let's do 10. Hopefully that won't be too ugly. It is going to be too ugly. We're going to do an 8. Sorry. Negative 4, 8. So now that I have it in points of diameter, remember, diameter goes from outside a circle to outside a circle, passing through the center. So we need the center, because you need center and radius to write the equation. So we can find the midpoint, which means stack them, add them, divide by 2 is what I always do. So add, and that's going to give me negative 2 and 12. Stack them, add them, then divide by 2, which gives me a negative 1, 6. So that's my center, which is my HK values. And now I need my radius. So I can pick either one of these coordinates up here, because now I have one coordinate and I have a center. So it's just like the last couple we did. And now I have to plug those in. So we'll call this X, Y, H and K. So we're going to plug those numbers in to our formula. Because we need our radius squared. So our x is 2, our y is 4, h is -1, which that negative is going to make that a positive, then minus 6. So 2 plus 1 is going to give me 3 squared. 4 minus 6 is going to give me -2 squared equals radius squared. So 3 times 3 is 9. -2 squared is going to be 4. So 9 plus 4 is going to be 13, which is our radius squared, which is fine for our equation. Our radius is going to be the square root of 13. That decimal would be the length of that radius. But in our equation, we need radius squared, so 13 is perfect. So you're going to use your center and your radius to write the equation. It's a -1, so we're going to put +1 squared, y minus 6 squared, and that's going to equal to our radius squared, which is 13.